Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jensen with CCJ 3701, Research Methods in Criminology. So today I'm going to show you how to take some existing syntax that you've been provided and build a variable that you don't have to recode. So over the years, as I've worked with many data sets and many students, I've learned that there were some variables that they stood in need of that were well beyond the skills they had learned, but they were central to the topic or question they were working on. So I would code together with the students and we would come up with variables that they needed. And it was a lot of fun, actually. But I saved all the syntax of how things were coded. So if we ever needed to use it in the future, we had it ready to go. So essentially, what I provided to you was some syntax written for a couple of variables in AddHealth. So you can open up these files if you kind of choose, if you kind of click on them and say open with a text editor. That's probably the perfect tool to open it up in. And then all you have to do once you get it open is you go ahead and highlight all the script, do a copy command, and then once you get over in AddHealth, you go ahead and select File, New, Syntax. This is where you get your little syntax editor. It's kind of blank. You can paste all of that lovely script in there. Now what you'll notice is if I have all this gray writing here, this is actually my notes of what I'm doing and kind of showing me where all my stuff is. So it's grayed out. You can't see it, but that kind of helps me know that's not command script, that's my stuff. Anything that is color-coded, like red or blue or maybe even green down here, those are command scripts that actually get run in SPSS. So it's the same kind of stuff you do in the menus. You can write commands for anything. You can write a command to recode a variable. You can write a command to label your stuff. You can write a command to run a frequency or a regression. Okay? So we're going to highlight some of the script that we wrote previously, and we'll make a combined race variable for you in AddHealth. So the first part we're going to highlight is kind of a preliminary step. Remember, sometimes we recode in order to get a final variable, but the recode itself is not the variable we want. It's just kind of a necessary first step. That's what the first part is. So go ahead and highlight the first 4 lines of that script. When you've done so, click the play button. Okay? So you just get some output that says, okay, I recoded this stuff. What it is we're actually taking these H1, GI4, 6A, 6B, and 6D variables and trying to identify who the Hispanics, whites, blacks, and Asians are apart from the others. Because in the AddHealth data set, the question was mark which racial or ethnic group you identify with, and then it was kind of coded as they either marked it or didn't mark it. And a lot of people want these groups together in one place so that they can work on a race variable, and they're all in separate questions. Okay, so that part's done. Now we're going to go ahead and label. We'll scroll down a little bit. We're going to do some variable labels and some value labels. Remember, variable labels will give it a name and a description, and the value labels will tell you what all the stuff means in the variable. So they actually identified blacks as a group called number 17, Asians as number 31, whites as 2, Hispanics as 1. Highlight all that script, press the play button again, and it's going to go ahead and do all this stuff in SPSS for us. So if we go to the data, or excuse me, the variable view, scroll all the way down, you can see that it actually made those 4 variables for us, okay? Now these aren't our end game variables. These are just ones we've made to kind of get there. So they are there, and we can look at them if you'd like, okay? But we're going to do a little bit more syntax stuff in the meantime. So go back to your syntax editor, and it says, here is the syntax for combining the newly recoded variables into combined race variable for whites, blacks, Asians, and Hispanics. So we're going to use the compute function, just like you would do like if you're building a scale. You scroll down a little bit, go ahead and highlight all that script right there until you get to the word analysis. Make sure you include that end period because that tells SPSS to execute. Click play, and it'll actually combine everybody into these little numbers. So what we did is we actually assigned different racial groups different numbers. Okay, so we have like 30s and 40s and 17s and 2s. You can kind of pick whatever numbers you want as long as they are distinct from each other and you can recognize who all these groups are. So this doesn't look like much to us, but we're actually going to turn these into racial groups. Okay? So it took information across different questions and computed them together so that we could have everyone in one place. All right, now we're going to label this weird looking variable. So highlight the variable label script, and here's all the names we're going to give everybody. Okay, and we're also just going to go ahead and run a frequency too while we're at it. So go all the way down, make sure you capture frequencies, and that last little part where it says analysis. Click the play button, and now we have a variable that has all the racial groups in one place. Here's the other thing you run into is, look, we actually have white Hispanics, we have black Hispanics, we have people that are both black and white, we have people who are both Asian and white, or Asian Hispanic. So this is very typical when you're working with race in data, is you have people that check multiple categories of racial identities that they have. Okay, so this tells us who is biracial and multiracial. Most people select one group and only one group as kind of a primary racial identity, but you certainly have people that select other groups and multiple groups as well. We actually had 2 people that selected black, Asian, white, and Hispanic. They kind of did all of the above. All right? So if you wanted to study blacks and only blacks, you would have to make the decision of, you know, I'm going to code my respondents who selected black, but then I also have to make a decision. Do I want to include people who identified as black Hispanic or black white or black Hispanic white or black Asian? So you have to decide what you mean by representing the group black. So this is kind of a researcher choice. Some people say, you know, I want people that only selected black as their primary identity, and the other people I'm going to call biracial or multiracial, and that's fine. Some people will say, you know, I really want anyone that identified as black, no matter if they identified with another race. I want to include them in my variable. You can do that. You just have to describe those choices you made in your methods section. Okay? So again, if you're kind of wondering who's who, if we go back to our data in SPSS, here is our race combined variable here at the bottom. And it kind of says we have whites, Hispanics, blacks, Asians, multiracial, biracial people. If you click on those value labels, it actually shows you who is who. So that way, you can select any of the groups you want and apply any recode that you want in your variable, depending on the decisions you make of who to include or exclude. And like I said, racial groups, there are lots of decisions to make with them, and there are lots of reasons for the decisions you make. You just want to justify those reasons in your paper. But there are very realistic and reasonable things to be considering when you're choosing these variables. Okay? So that is how to use syntax to build a variable from script. Now, one other thing I'll show you here at the bottom. It says, note, due to overlapping cases and multiraciality and biraciality and how the responses could indicate multiple racial identities, these variables cannot be run together in the same model, but must be run in separate models with linear or logistic regression. Okay? Because they kind of checked all of the above or checked multiple, if you want to recode the variable, you wouldn't necessarily be able to put 2 racial variables in the same equation, in the same regression. You'd have to run them separately, okay? Because you're going to get an error in SPSS that says, hey, you're counting this person twice. Okay, that's generally what happens. I also have some script down here that will take that race combined variable and do kind of a Hispanic versus white, black versus white, and Asian versus white variable if you'd like. Let's go ahead and run all of this script at the same time. We're going to recode 3 variables in less than 4 seconds. You ready? Click the play button. Now you actually have recoded variables that show you a minority group versus a white group. Okay? There's black versus white. There's the 1501 blacks. There is Hispanic versus white, 360 Hispanics versus white, and our Asians. Okay? So that's a really quick, fast way to get some racial variables recoded. And again, you can use those as you need to in your paper. But if you have any questions about running them in regressions, how they work, and so forth, feel free to contact me. And then once you're done with this syntax script, you can either save it or purge it, whatever you want. Your variables are built. Just make sure you save your data when you're done. So essentially, here are all your variables you made. You're not going to use these. These were, again, preliminary variables. You're pretty much just going to use this race combined variable, or the new recoded ones at the bottom. Those are the ones you're probably the most interested in. Now, let's go ahead and do the single parent syntax. Many of you are interested in looking at the experiences of single parents. Okay, so I'm going to close this output because I'm kind of done with it. I don't need to save it. Single parent syntax, same kind of a thing. Okay, so you can actually just kind of hit return several times and kind of give yourself some fresh syntax if you want, or you can close it and open up a new one by going File, New Syntax. But I have this single parent syntax, and I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it, and I'm going to put it in my syntax editor right here. So I just kind of pick a spot and I paste that in there. Okay, so what this does is it identifies who my single moms are and who my single dads are. Okay, so it says here single dads in gray. So we had to look at divorced dads, widowed dads, never married dads, and so forth to get all the single dads. Okay, so we can run all of this together. Put your cursor at the top, and this is a condition. Okay, so you see these little ifs in the variable. These conditions say do this recode if this person's male and they also had a marital status of divorced, widowed, or never married. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and highlight all of this, and it's going to do a lot of coding, and I built in some frequencies so you can actually see the frequencies as they emerge. Okay, so at the very bottom, once it's done processing, and you know it's done because here at the bottom it says IBM SPSS Statistics Processor is ready. All single father households, never married, widowed, divorced, separated. Okay, so your ones are your single dads. Your zeros are your married dads. And again, they had to answer the gender question and their marital status question, but they have everybody in there. So your last step would be to label your zeros and your ones with your single dads and not single dads. Let's make a single mom variable. So scroll down, you can see there's the gray stuff that says, aha, single moms. Here's the syntax. Highlight all of it, all the way down to the very end. Okay, right before you get to the word compute. We're going to do that in a minute. So this is the same thing, except we're doing it for a gender of female, people who are never married, divorced, widowed, and separated. So go ahead and run all that script, and now we've just made single mother variables. You see it actually starts putting all the pieces together for you. Here's all our single moms in AddHealth. And again, you just have to go in and label your new variable with the zeros as not single mom and the ones as single mom. Last part we're going to do, and this is only if you need this variable, if you just want a single parent variable, it combines all the single father households and all the single mother households together, so you get all single parents. Okay, you don't have to if that's not what you're going to be using, but it is here for you. So let's select the word compute back in your syntax editor, and you notice it actually does all the labeling for you, and it builds in a frequency so you can see your final variable when you're done. Click the play button. Here is all your single parents. Okay, so now you have a single parent variable in AddHealth. Okay, there's one other variable that I wanted to show you. I'm not going to run the syntax on it, but I'll just go ahead and bring the instructions down here. This is what we call a close to parents variable, but in AddHealth they actually asked, are you close to your mom in one question? Are you close to your dad in another question? And these were the kinds of answers they had. I'm not close, I'm very little close, I'm somewhat close, I'm quite a bit, or very much. And I had students say, I actually wish these were combined into one question. And I said, yeah, you can do that. All you'd have to do is compute those two together and then assign a scheme to how those values get combined, and you're going to be able to create that variable. So that's the last set of script. If you want to make a closeness variable for both mom and dad, you would just do the same thing we did earlier and run the script in a syntax editor. Good luck!